Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Rutt Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2009 romantic comedy drama titled 500 Days of Summer. Now, 500 Days of Summer runs for 95 minutes long. It is directed by Marc Webb. It is produced by Mason Novick, Jessica Tuchinski, Mark Waters, and Stephen J. Wolfe. The script was done by Scott Neustadter and Michael J. Weber. The narration was done by Richard McGonigal. The score was done by Michael Dana and Rob Simonson. The cinematography by Eric Steelberg. And the editing was done by Alan Edward Bell. And the stars of the movie are Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Zooey Deschanel, Geoffrey Arend, Chloe Grace Moretz, Matthew Gray Gubler, and Clark Gregg. Now, look, I believe that we have all been through that familiar path before. Just when we thought we found the right guy or girl of our dreams, and they connect with each other and have similar shares with each other and interests, and hopes that a simple platonic relationship could progressively enhance into something beyond the parameters of a simple platonic relationship. And then, after a while, the inevitable happens. And then one of them breaks up with you. And it takes many frustrating leaps and bounds to ask them to take them back, only to realize that maybe they were never meant for each other, or that maybe they were meant for each other, but they just saw through a blind eye. Love can be quite predictable. There's a lot of like dislike in terms of love and relationships. The old boy meets girl or girl meets boy, they fall in love, they split, they try to win each other back. Some may reconcile, and others may drift apart. Until finally we come to realize that you might succeed or you might fail. But in the end, there is always room for hope. This movie may probably feel like it's drab, that it's cynical, and that you may not always win in the endless battle between love. But whether you win or whether you lose, there is always this chance of hope. And I think that's what the lesson Tommy Hansen learned in this 95-minute movie. But of course, his day in the life runs 500 days. Hence the title, 500 Days of Summer. So, this movie tells a very similar story about Tom Hansen, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who works at a greeting card company, and Summer Finn, played by Zooey Deschanel, is his co-worker. And they seem like a nice couple who hit it off as they're seated on a bench with her hand on top of her, complete with a beautiful engagement ring on her finger. So we're left to believe that, they're sitting on a bench. He's wearing, like spiffy clothes. She seems to be pretty much dolled up in immaculate looking wear. So we're led to believe that at first Tom and Summer are an engaged couple, only to discover we're about to be surprised near the end. So before you know it, as the film progresses, we discover that Tom and Summer have ended their relationship, and Tom has not taken this very well. While battling depression and heartbreak, Tom's friends have tried to offer him support, and his lovable sister Rachel, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, provides reassurance as a way to prevent him from going into deeper depression for the fear that he might self destruct. You see, this is one of the great idiosyncrasies about this movie that really stands out is the fact that there are actually quite a lot of likable characters. Some of them, yeah, may kind of come across as being a bit cynical, but I think Tom Hansen really is quite lucky to have friends like this by his side. I also, I also think that I'm glad that he even has a younger sister who seems to somewhat be very supportive in him. I'm going to get to her a bit later on. But one of the things that might get fans peeved off about this movie is the fact that the movie does not operate on a formulaic day to day series of chronological events. It is very non linear. I mean, one minute we're looking at day one, and then we segue into day 250, only to go back to day 7, and then we jump to day 190. You know, it really, really is a seesaw thing. It's not a day to day, day 1, day 2, and so forth. No, it's non linear. And is it ineffective in its presentation and storytelling? No. In fact, I think it's quite interesting and it creates a sense of pathos, for the audience to sort of draw their conclusions as to how they broke up. Will they reconcile? Will they blossom into a full blown relationship? Or will they just drift apart? So the narrative is quite non-linear, as therefore the scenes will jump over various intervals as the film rolls. But just remember, you've been warned. I always wanted to do that. So we know that they're co-workers at the greeting card company. They have a few drinks, they get wild at a karaoke party, and Summer seems to be quite attracted to his enthusiasm, even though she has really no intentions of hooking up with anyone. She is, even though she's lovable and perky, she also has a negative perspective on love and relationships, meaning that she doesn't believe in true love, whereas Tom truly has this ray of hope that there is such a thing as true love, and that she's just constantly looking through a blind eye. Of course, these guys are full adults, but, Tom Hansen still has this giddy, childlike, um, enthusiasm that, yes, he found the girl of his dreams. And he has this kind of junior high aspirations of wanting to date her so that they could have a blossoming relationship that could probably lead to them getting married and going out on a honeymoon and having babies and all that jazz. But of course, he's going to have to realize that reality will peek its ugly head, and he may not like it entirely. But that doesn't mean that it's the end of the rope, that the world isn't going to come to an end anytime soon. All the while, Tom pretends like he's not interested in her, either for the fear of doing something embarrassing or stupid, or something that he might regret. And who has never done that before? So one of the things that make this movie really stand out is the reality that is manifested in this movie. It can be good, in the sense that, at least we gotta give Tom the congratulations for the effort he has in trying to be in a strong, or at least if not a stronger relationship with Summer, even though she kind of passes him over. But at the same time, he also has to face a grim reality that love just does not happen on a silver platter, and that no matter how hard he tries, he could either come out strong or he could end up breaking dishes with his head instead of breaking dishes on a table like you would see in some of the early scenes. The triumphs and setbacks in Tom and Summer's relationship is truly the cornerstone of what the entire movie is about. We know that Summer has been turned off by Tom for some time, and the quirky charm that once attracted Summer has fizzled out like a flower in late August. We see Tom looking back the magical time when they first met, but he still can't get over the fact that she never intended the relationship to be anything more than just friends. And that's really all she ever wanted. She didn't want anything serious. Never mind the fact that they screw up words at karaoke. So what if they're fascinated by an 80s band known as the Smiths? And so what if, he still is giddy about her to the point where we see almost a Terry Gilliam like scenario where Tom and a bunch of other street people are dancing to a Hall and Oates song, and we see a cute little bluebird, animated bluebird in the scenes. There's a lot of quirky, humorous stuff in there, but there is quite a lot of realism in this movie. So it's almost like we're balancing reality with surrealism, and it's both proportionately equally panned out. Overall, the performances were pretty damn good, even though there really isn't a top quality A-list performer out there. But they're all bright and likable, and we truly care about each character. Joseph Gordon-Levitt shows just how versatile he is as a performer, and he really has come out on his own since his early days in misunderstood movies like The Juror to his comedy roots on Third Rock from the Sun. Zooey Deschanel, she can always tempt you with her sparkly cuteness while embodying her independence as Summer. True, you can still see a little bit of new girl in her, but not too. But still, hey, I guess she's always gonna be kind of like typecast for the cute, bubbly type individual who has a little more layers in terms of character than the cutesy charm that we're known for her. I also thought that by making the story non-linear, now I know this could piss off a lot of people, but to me, I think the non-linear storytelling by director Marc Webb was clever, and it kind of adds a dimension of freshness by preventing the story from becoming wonton. The way we can keep guessing if Tom will ever win back Summer's heart, and while keeping it real, while maintaining the humor fresh and the overwhelming roller coaster of events, it may not necessarily please everyone, but the realism behind it is purely justified. So, in the end, the unpredictable world of that we live in, they say that there is someone out there for everyone, but we don't exactly know how and when Tom and Summer were meant to be together. We're not exactly sure if Tom and Summer were meant to be together. Even Tom himself doesn't really know if they were meant to be. He's just as lost in this unpredictable world as his audience. What really stands out for this movie is the amazing music score, and I gotta give a hats off to Michael Dana and Rob Simonson. The score is definitely filled with some wonderful tracks from well-established artists, familiar names, and some of the names that I've just mentioned already, like the Smiths, Hall & Oates. We get songs from Wolfmother, Rebecca Spector, Simon and Garfunkel, and the list goes on. And they do keep the music light, which is greatly appropriate for, romantic comedy dramas. But the artists are familiar names, which is good because in the past there are too many romantic comedies that have musicians we have never heard about, which at times make things kind of annoying. I know there's not a lot of A-list performers here, but there are some that really truly stand out. Geoffrey Arend is kind of like a cynical co-worker with Tom. He's in there too. He's quite effective in his role. And then you got Matthew Gray Gubler as Paul, who kind of comes across as kind of almost like like a like he kind of comes across as a bit of a perverted type character, but still, a very supportive individual. I think the real standout in terms of supporting performers would probably go to Chloe Grace Moretz as Tom's younger sister, Rachel. And the reason why I gotta give hats off to her is because she kind of is a little unusual. I mean, here she kind of plays a character, let's say she's about roughly 11, 12 years old. But one of the things that kind of is a little disturbing about her, I mean, it's dynamic, it's interesting and all, but I found her role to be somewhat a little bit creepy. Not to say that she was creepy and like scary and stuff like that. It's because I found her to be kind of somewhat overly precocious. Now I know the Hollywood stream seems to love to cast, 11, 12-year-olds who talk like they're in their mid-20s. I mean, she's playing Tom's younger sister by quite the age difference. And yet it seems like she's far mature than most of the characters in this movie. She even talks like a 20-year-old. Or a 25-year-old. I'm going to roughly say she's 11 years old, but she does not convince me into thinking that she's an 11-year-old girl. She talks like a 25-year-old. Working on her PhD dissertation in sex therapy. It seems like she knows more about sex therapy than Dr. Ruth did when she was working on her PhD dissertation. It's like you may as well just not even make her a little sister, but make her an older sister working on her PhD, and make her sit in make Tom sit in her office or lie on a couch and take notes, since it seems like she sounds like she could be a psychiatrist. I mean, she kind of like is like wondering, did Marc Webb was Abigail Breslin or Dakota Fanning absent or something? Because that's the kind of the impression I get. And it seems like a lot of these precocious preteens seem to materialize in a lot of movies. I know that might annoy people, but I mean, my little sister never would give me advice. Nobody in my family ever gave me advice when it came to me seeking help when in troubled times. No. If I'm in trouble, I gotta figure it out for myself. You know, the old tough love. You know. But she seems genuinely more at it than most of the cast members, and yet she's kind of the underdog. Which I kind of found to be a bit surreal. They should have just casted an older actor to play an older sister who's working on a PhD in psychiatry. Because even in the opening scenes when she walks into Tom's apartment and he's breaking dishes, she even talks in this stern motherly voice like, "Have a seat. Let's talk. What is going on?" In that kind of voice. It's like, "Excuse me? Are you my younger sister? Or are you a therapist?" And I'm not putting her down in any way. I thought she was quite good in her respective role. But it was a little bit creepy. And how does she know things about PMS? I mean, do they teach sex ed in the 6th grade? I mean, they taught sex ed when I was in grade 7. That's understandable. So she doesn't seem like a junior high. She seems more like a 6th grader. I mean, okay, she's level-headed. And she's supportive. And she seems to have a sweet personality. And that's fine. But I just find it to be a little miscast. That's all I'm saying. Nothing personal. So overall, 500 Days of Summer is a nice little romantic comedy you could watch and get involved with the characters in it. It wasn't formulaic, it wasn't sappy, and it didn't make you want to stab yourself with a fork. And the realism involved towards the theme that love can be unpredictable truly rings significance. It may bring happiness, or it may bring heartbreak. But either way, the message is saying that even when you're down, you must look for ways to get yourself back into the race. Your heart may be broken, but it could still be repaired. So, if I was to give this movie a scale out of 10, I would give 500 Days of Summer a 9. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. Just remember, be kind, be courteous, and don't be rude. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Red Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.